many women he's going to allow to speak. It's a little different here because Epstein is dead. He killed himself. It's unprecedented. I've never seen a moment like this where a judge allows victims to come in and speak just before he dismisses a case because a defendant is dead. So the judge here really, when he put notice out that he was going to do this, realized with the death of Epstein that these women will never potentially have a chance to be heard, and so he was concerned about it. Judge Berman here at the federal courthouse behind me was concerned that the accusers would never have their day in court, and so he put out this opportunity to their lawyers, to prosecutors, to bring the victims in, the accusers in, to have their say. Some of these women we've never heard from before. Some of them will not identify themselves. Some of them will just be referred to as Jane Doe, and in some cases only the lawyers will speak on their behalf. So it's really unclear how this day is going to go, but the significant moment certainly here is that these women are finally going to get a moment, a chance to come into court and tell the public what happened to them.
Yeah, I mean, great for that judge for allowing them to do that, even though it's symbolic, maybe one step towards closure. And as you said, we have no idea how many women are actually going to appear in court and say something. Once they've potentially said what they needed to say today, and this case is closed, what are the other avenues open to them?
For them, civil. They can sue the estate. There's a lot of money. We saw filings recently where Jeffrey Epstein
역시
assets
운동은
worth about
장비빨.
$500 million, so they could pursue money there. There are
운동은
some
장비빨이죠.
investigations with potential
손목이 너무 아파서
murders, people who helped Jeffrey
철공하려고
Epstein in his sex trafficking scheme. So there's still cases that could potentially be brought by prosecutors here in New York. And also remember, federal prosecutors in France have opened their own investigation because Jeffrey Epstein had a home there, and they're concerned that some of this activity may have been going on there. So you have that criminal investigation, and you still have an ongoing criminal investigation here in New York, in Manhattan, by the federal prosecutors into potential co-conspirators. So that is the other avenue here for these accusers, and obviously civil lawsuit, going after the money, the $500 million in assets that Jeffrey Epstein left behind. That is something that we do expect the victims to try and get their hands on.
Okay, Shimon Prokopiev, a big day for many brave women today. Thanks so much for reporting outside the courthouse. Thanks, Shimon. Okay, so Jakarta's days as the capital of Indonesia are numbered as the bustling city faces a slew of environmental challenges, chief among them the threat of sinking into the sea. So Linda Kincaid has more on the plans underway to build a brand new capital. Here's Linda.
Jakarta is sinking. Scientists say the sprawling capital of Indonesia, which is home to more than 10 million people, is dropping below sea levels at alarming rates. The government of Indonesia announced Monday that it now wants to move its capital from Jakarta to the island of Borneo. Indonesian President Joko Widodo says the new capital, which is yet to be named, will be in a safer, more centralized place.
Risiko bencana minimal.
The place has minimum risk of natural disasters, such as floods, earthquakes, tsunami, forest fire, volcanoes, and landslides. Secondly, the location is strategic as it's located in the center of Indonesia.
The critics are concerned that building a new city in Borneo will destroy more of the island's forests, which are home to orangutans and other wildlife already under threat by the palm oil industry. Some residents say Indonesia should concentrate on fixing the problems in Jakarta, where residents are struggling to cope with pollution, traffic, and frequent flooding. In the past, it was not like this. It was nicer, and the seawater was good. The beach sand was nice, and we could still play in the water. We now can't do it anymore. The water is murky, dirty. Every high tide, it's flooded. Reports say North Jakarta could be 90% submerged in the next 30 years. It's already built on swampy ground, with water now spilling over from the Java Sea and the city's 13 rivers. Although water is everywhere, it's not fit to drink. People must rely on underground aquifers, which will weaken the city's foundation, making it easier for the city to slip into the sea.
Nah, kenapa sekarang air di atas, saya di bawah?
Now, why has the water level become higher than my home and I am now below water level? Maybe because the seawater is eating up the soil little by little? That's what I know.
Indonesia's president says Jakarta will continue to be the country's financial capital, but it's unclear how he plans to stop the city's decline, with another city ready to rise as soon as Parliament gives its approval. Linda Kincaid, CNN. And still ahead here on the international desk, as fires consume the Amazon rainforest, CNN speaks with tribal leaders whose very way of life is under threat. We'll have that exclusive report. And later, Taylor Swift is calling out the Trump administration. The pop superstar dove into politics when she took to the stage at the MTV Video Music Awards. That's coming up next.
A city that we dream of. A city that goes beyond our imagination. Where can it be? Right now at this moment, please focus your attention on Daegu, South Korea. Future city Daegu. It's closer than it looks.
Celebrate the racing season in style with CNN.
This one's winning-paced and elegant life samples the delights of South Korea and explores the nation's increasing hunger for horse racing.
Winning Post and Elegant Life, Thursday on CNN in association with Login.
This is the floor of the New York Stock Exchange. From here, we'll bring you the events moving the business world.
The Express, tonight on CNN.
I'm Wolf Blitzer. This is CNN.
Welcome back to the International Desk. I'm Robin Kerno. Returning now to our top story, the effort to contain the fires raging in the Amazon rainforest. The president, Jair Bolsonaro, accuses the G7 of treating Brazil like a colony and questions the French president's intentions. But when reporters asked Mr. Bolsonaro about his plan to reject the offer, he just said, "Did I say that?" Meanwhile, Mr. Bolsonaro's policies of opening up the Amazon to miners and ranchers threatens not only the environment itself, but the people living there. Tribal leaders say they are willing to do whatever it takes to protect the Amazon. Issa Suarez's report now includes exclusive video from filmmaker Aku Gomes. For as long as anyone can remember, the Wayaki tribe have been the stewards of these waters and the land that caresses it. In return, the Amazon rainforest has given back with every drop, and seeds safeguarding their livelihood, tradition, and ultimately their survival.
Nós aqui moramos dentro da comuna Amazônia, né? Porque essa Amazônia traz saúde para a gente, né? Saúde para o mundo, assim quer dizer. Essa é do mundo, né? Ruído traz muito problema para a gente, problema de saúde, tristeza. Por isso que nós preocupamos-se com mudança de climática, quer dizer. Essa é que é nossa preocupação, nós indígenas do Anhampi.
But the isolated Waiaki, 1,500 strong across 92 villages in Amapá State, say they've never felt so under threat as they do today. And it seems not even the demarcation set by Brazil's 1988 constitution can protect them. That is now perilously close, with President Jair Bolsonaro calling for protected and demarcated sections of the Amazon to be opened up to roads, ranching, farming and mining, arguing this demarcated area is too large for the indigenous and is hindering development. On the ground, the Waiaki tell us they've already begun to feel the impact of his words and policies.
Esse governo está massacrando o nosso direito e o nosso povo indígena.
With garimpeiros, wildcat miners, loggers and ranchers invading and assaulting their land.
Já estão iniciando, matando os povos indígenas e nós não queremos nenhuma gota de sangue mais.
Audio provided to Brazilian journalists just after their chief was killed on July 22nd shows their urgency for action.
A facada, várias furadas no corpo dele e no pênis dele, e mataram muito feio.
But they say the savagery didn't stop there.
Entra numa casa indígena, vai agredindo crianças, agredindo mulheres.
They may be shaken, but the Waiaki are not running scared. Instead, in silence, they ward off evil spirits and ready for battle. Their fight has taken them all the way to the United Nations.
Com a eleição de Jair Bolsonaro como presidente do Brasil, aumenta a ameaça a nossos direitos e a nossos territórios. Não aceitamos a mineria em nossas terras. Ele não respeita nossa cultura, nosso modo de viver e nossos mosquitos. Estamos preocupados.
The Brazilian government says there was no credible evidence that the chief was murdered, with the Minister of the Environment adding that the chief drank too much and fell into the river. But according to Amazon Watch, there have been at least 14 cases of invasions and assaults into indigenous territories by land grabbers, loggers and miners, who have left their dark stain on indigenous people and on the world's greatest rainforest, with fires scorching the land at an unseen rate. The Waiaki have luckily been safe from the fire, but remain threatened by Bolsonaro's environmental policies. The yellow marks here show the scale of deforestation, which has increased more than 60% in June compared to last year. That's over 750 square miles of lost land. Put it simply, that's 1.5 soccer fields being destroyed every minute of every day. So while the Waiaki wait for the world to act, life goes on here. 59-year-old Chief Jariati goes to school to learn Portuguese.
Eu quero aprender como é que habita no Caraíba. Eu falo assim, só eu contei. Como é que habita? Eu quero saber como é que fala Caraíba. Porque eu quero aprender a conversar com francos na
Teaching the next generation.
Eu quero que minha filha, igual como eu também, cacique, esse fruto da terra, da nossa terra, isso é muito importante para mim, continuar sendo.
Traditions that have protected their ancient lands. Actions that defend the very air that we breathe. Isa Suarez, CNN. Well, CNN reached out to Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro's press office about the government's policies in the region. We were told the presidency would make no comments on the issue. CNN also reached out to the Ministry of Environment and Brazil's National Indigenous Affairs Agency. The Ministry of the Environment did not reply to our request for comment, and the Indigenous Affairs Agency redirected us to the President's and Ministry's press office. You're watching CNN. More to come.
Hey you, sorry you couldn't make it to the Philippines, but it's okay, we haven't been up to much. There's just no escape from the heat. All we do is take showers. We keep getting lost. We can't wait for the day to end. I'm kidding! We're having a blast. The only thing that would make it better is if you were here too.
Stateless, persecuted Rohingya Muslims who fled Myanmar now face a new threat. Women and children falling prey to traffickers. CNN travels to the world's largest refugee camp to understand the crisis.
Nobody was really able to do anything to help.
What does it take to lead a search for a missing child?
In 24 hours.
Yeah,
We're going to come back here.
Yeah.
Police, if she's not providing us with the address, we'll demand her to deploy it.
Stolen Son, a CNN Freedom Project documentary, Saturday.
For somebody to tell you their story, it's something I take really seriously. It's not something you can just parachute in and ask somebody to open their heart to you. To peel away the layers, to get to the heart of the person who you're telling a story about.
France will never give up against the terrorists.
And delve beneath the surface of what's happening. You can hear their story, and you're going to do their story justice. You have to show yourself to them.
So right now they're hovering pretty low over this area that's extensively flooded.
That's the right place to tell their story.
If you're eager to find out who took home the top prize at MTV's Video Music Awards on Monday, you need to calm down. Taylor Swift winning her second Video of the Year trophy for her Quality Anthem. You need to calm down. But Swift was pretty fired up, that's about right, about why the Trump White House has not acknowledged her Quality Act petition for LGBT rights, which was launched with that singer.
At the end of this video, there was a petition, and there still is a petition for the Equality Act, which basically just says we all deserve equal rights under the law. It now has 500,000 signatures, which is 5 times the amount that it would need to warrant a response from the White House.
While the White House hasn't yet to comment directly to Swift, the U.S. House of Representatives did pass the Equality Act, but the White House opposes it. Well, Lisa Resmus-France joins us now with more on that. She's certainly making a point.
Yes, she is, and I love when she did the little kind of letting them know time is a ticking. As she pointed out, the Video of the Year award was voted on by fans. So she says if people voted because they appreciated the video, they clearly appreciated the message. So politicians might want to pay attention to that, especially when it comes to people voting.
Is she expecting the White House to respond?
I think she very much would like to, and of course it was a very strong visual having her surrounded by members of the LGBTQ plus community there with her, though they were also people who co-starred in the video with her, and Todrick Hall, who was to her side, was the co-producer, and they've all been very outspoken about the fact that this is not a community that's going to be ignored, and with Taylor Swift leading the fight, you definitely have a lot of people paying attention.
Yeah, and in terms of fights that she's leading, she's also leading another one in terms of her own music archive. Take a listen to an interview she gave over the weekend, and I want to talk about it on the other side.
And so you didn't see it coming?
No.
So how did you find out?
I found out when it was online, like when it hit the news.
Nobody in your inner circle
Nobody knew.
And you didn't smell it?
No. I knew he would sell my music. I knew he would do that. I couldn't believe who he sold it to, because we've had endless conversations about Scooter Braun, and he has 300 million reasons to conveniently forget those conversations.
Now, could you re-record?
Oh, yeah.
Might you do that?
Oh, yeah.
That's a plan?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Talk us through what's going on there. Who's Scooter Braun and why is she needing to re-record her music?
So Scooter Braun is a massive manager and music executive. He manages people like Ariana Grande and Justin Bieber. He bought Taylor Swift's earlier music. She has said that this was her worst case scenario, like a nightmare scenario for her. She did not want him to purchase the music. Now he owns the rights, and she's saying in that interview that she could come back and re-record all that music. But that's a little bit of a head scratcher for multiple reasons. One, because legally she could do that, but you can't use the same type of production. You can't use the same type of artwork. So she would have to make it like brand new music. And also keep in mind, Taylor Swift's not the teenager she used to be. So do we really want to hear her singing about teen angst in her 30s and redoing the music? I mean, part of the reason why we love those Taylor Swift songs is because they are Taylor Swift songs as they are. So, are people going to be as excited if, years from now, she re-records those old songs and they have to be completely different? I mean, I think about, I went to see Lauryn Hill and she does something similar. She plays her old songs, but they're completely new arrangements. And I gotta say, I didn't always love it.
Okay, and what's interesting, because I have a 9-year-old and a 12-year-old, we've been listening to her latest album, which is The Lover, which we were playing a little bit earlier. And she talks about getting married and marriage. So she's definitely in a new phase in terms of the Taylor Swift stuff.
Yes.
But it's fascinating because she is such a powerhouse. So she tends to get what she wants. So let's see what happens.
She does. I think this is a negotiation tactic, and it's very smart on her part.
Okay. Always great to have you.
Great to have you in the studio.
Thank you. But before we go, I just do want to return to a moment, that landmark opioid case in the United States. We talked about it a little bit earlier with Sanjay Gupta in the show. Well, I want to tell you more about the judge. The judge made history with his decision. Here he is here, placing blame for the deadly opioid crisis in Oklahoma on Johnson & Johnson. So Judge Thad Boltman is in the spotlight, but this is not for the first time. Listen to this. When he was 14, his boyhood home served as the set for the hit movie Ferris Bueller's Day Off. The movie crew actually built a bedroom for Ferris, loosely based on the judge's real messy bedroom. So there's just an interesting connection there. Maybe Johnson & Johnson should have remembered what Ferris said in the movie. If I'm gonna get busted, it is not gonna be like a guy that, but it was like a guy like that. So really, I mean, this is an interesting character. We'll talk more about it, certainly on screen with Lisa sitting next to me here. I'm Robin Kerner at the International Desk. You can catch me on Twitter and Instagram at Robin Kerner CNN. Coming up next, it's back to business for Serena Williams in the US Open as the year's final tennis major gets underway. Some great stuff expected on World Sport. Amanda is next. Enjoy.
On the next, Africa Looks East, I'm in South Africa.
And I'm in Japan to show you why business leaders here are investing in Africa.
From driving new opportunities forward,
the transfer of skills from Japanese to Kenyan. The importance of that is immense.
to digging into the future and connecting the continent to the world. These are the ways Japan is partnering with Africa.
Africa Looks East, Saturday on CNN.
We've come deep into Venezuela's mining arc to find out how Nicolas Maduro is holding on to power.
They've got 250 kilos of gold out of this mine.
These mines are run by a network of hooded militias called planes.
Maduro has knowledge of all of this and has done very little, if anything.
With a river of gold running deep and the economy shrinking by half in a span of 5 years, there is little sign Maduro and his men will turn their back on this blood gold.
Today we live in an unpredictable environment and news races around the world at breakneck speed.
I didn't know what his intention was. I knew it could be obstruction of justice.
My show brings you the latest news and top news makers. Are you playing with fire? And we also dive below the headlines to explore vital issues impacting our lives.
It's about right and wrong.
You have to stand up for what you believe in.
We need to realize that our future is at risk and we need to take action.
Was that kind of mortifying or did you enjoy it? You were great.
It's crucial we make sense of what's happening.
Do you regret that? Do you think there should be nuclear power or more commitment to a clean environment?
New Zealand had its experience and changed its laws. To be honest with you, I do not understand the United States.
Does love have a chance?
I always believe that.
And fully understand what's at stake.
Amanpour, Tuesday to Saturday on CNN.
Hi, thanks for joining us. Welcome along to World Sport Live from London with me, Amanda Davis. 12 months on from her last incredibly controversial appearance on the Arthur Ashe Court at the US Open, Serena Williams returned and left no doubt about her intent. From her 2018 final defeat to Naomi Osaka, where insults were thrown, rackets were smashed, and she branded umpire Carlos Ramos a liar and a thief. Her 2019 first-round encounter on Monday was an altogether more straightforward affair. Despite the pedigree of her opponent, a long-term rival, five-time Grand Slam champion Maria Sharapova, Serena cruised through the encounter 6-1, 6-1 in just 59 minutes to get back on track for what would be a record-equaling 24th Grand Slam crown.
The fans, like I said, on the court, they were so amazing, and they were so, like, I could hear them walking down the hallway, and it was such a good feeling, you know, and it's just, it made me feel unbelievable and really helped me get amped up and pumped up.
For more, I'm pleased to say I'm joined in the studio by my World Sport colleague, Christina McFarlane. Chrissy, in terms of the performance, there was no doubt that was a show of intent from Serena, but it's interesting listening to her there, referring to the fans, maybe suggesting she didn't think she was necessarily going to get such a warm reception from the New York crowd. How much do you think she's really put what happened 12 months ago behind her?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think there was definitely a degree of curiosity around how Serena Williams would make her return here. And on the court, it was interesting to see, for me anyway, in terms of her play, how she always raises her game against the Russian Sharapova. Even though she's beaten her 19 times in a row, there's something about Sharapova that makes her, you know, just up it that little bit more. And Sharapova, of course, not standing anything of a chance, not hitting a single or winning a single point on her second serve. Off the court, though, with the crowds, it was also interesting to see how they bore her no ill will about what happened last year in the final. That very public meltdown after Carlos Ramos, the umpire, officiated against her. But I think Serena rather gave herself away a little bit in the post-match press conference when she was asked about Carlos Ramos and the fact that he will no longer be officiating for her or her sister. Have a listen to what she had to say on that point.
Do you think that was a good thing, or you really didn't care?
Yeah, I don't know who that is.
Yeah, I don't think anyone is in any doubt that she knows exactly who Carlos Ramos is, the guy she called a thief and a liar. But I think, as you said,
it became the most famous umpire on the tennis circuit 12 months ago. Yeah, exactly.
But as you said, Amanda, that was a statement of intent in that game, and she is definitely in fine form.
We must have a word on the person who beat Serena Williams in that final, Naomi Osaka. It's been a mixed year, I think it's fair to say, since she was catapulted onto the big stage 12 months ago. How do you rate her chances this year?
Well, right now there's a bit of a question mark over her form because, of course, she withdrew from Cincinnati 2 weeks ago with a knee injury in the quarterfinals. So it's difficult to say at this point, but certainly what is true is it's all changed for her at this year's US Open. This will be the first time she's having to defend a Grand Slam title in her career. And, of course, she has an entirely new coaching staff behind her than the one she did last year when she rather controversially and surprisingly fired Sasha Mayin earlier this year and replaced him in February with Jermaine Jenkins, who's a former hitting partner for Venus Williams. And under him, they really haven't had particularly good results. I mean, she hasn't made the final of any tournament. She went round in the first round of Wimbledon and of the French Open. But she has been talking about the fact that she has not been enjoying her tennis. She's been putting way too much pressure on herself. So her quest, if you like, in the last couple of months has really been to recapture the joy. And I think she has, or she seems to be managing to do that. So bearing in mind that fitness, that potential question mark, if that is okay, I think we could see her getting back on top.
Just a word on the men. Not been ideal preparation either for Roger Federer. He got knocked out early in Cincinnati. By his own admission, hasn't had enough match practice. Then drops that early set to Sumit Nagal in his first round yesterday. How much do we take from that, do you think, in terms of his chances for the next couple of weeks?
Well, like Serena, a lot of curiosity to see Roger Federer back on court, because remember, he's only played in one tournament since that stunning loss at Wimbledon, and that was in Cincinnati, where he went out in the round of 16. But there were a few raised eyebrows over the fact that he lost that first set against Sumit Nagal because he hit 19 unforced errors. But let's not forget, Federer losing the first set of the first round, not uncommon. He did it at Wimbledon earlier this year against South Africa's Lloyd Harris. And he did say after the game that he felt actually the fact that this match went 2 hours and 30 minutes might not have been a bad thing for him. It gave him a chance to sort of shake off the cobwebs and begin to find his form. It tells us that he is still struggling, but maybe he needed that match to get back to where he needs to be. However, I mean, we have to look at his nemesis Novak Djokovic, who also sailed through in straight sets. The quest for him now really is capturing Roger Federer's 20 Grand Slams, as it is for Rafa Nadal, who'll be in action in his first round later tonight at 7 p.m. on the Arthur Ashe against John Millman. And unlike Roger and Novak, Rafa has actually warmed up for the US Open by winning a tournament. He won in Montreal in Canada against Daniil Medvedev, which we know, or who we know, is the young hot talent at the moment. So in some ways, it'll be really interesting to see how Nadal plays tonight. And of the three, maybe he could be the one.
All to play for, and of course all these big players know about playing themselves into these tournaments and peaking at the right time. Chrissy, thanks very much indeed. Some great battles to come at Flushing Meadows over the next couple of weeks, and some great battles on the cricket pitch as well. Up next, one of England's 2005 Ashes winning side as a new generation set their sights on history.
Traveling is not just about seeing places with the most likes or getting iconic photos.
Amazing.
It's about finding the city's DNA, meeting people who share its secrets. It's about making discoveries that wow you and make you feel like a child again. It's a world of wonder. Now go and see it. Wednesday on CNN in association with Turkish Airlines.
We live in